Colin.
Hiya, Barry.
So, I mean,
That was easy.
yes, exactly.
That
Both
level of
incredible.
support. I'm Colin. Clap. Nailed it.
That's how it's gonna go, every question. Tell me about reading this script and tell me about talking with Martin about your respective roles.
I read the script. God, I think there was one other incarnation of this script originally, and it was quite different. I seem to remember the first half of it was kind of set up the same. The dissolution of a friendship, for different reasons. I think Brendan's character's reasons were a little bit more vague than I felt they are in this version. And that was about 5 or 6 years ago. And then Martin went away, did 3 billboards, and then I think he came back to this and he revisited it and he did some work on it. And when I read it, I was just gutted. I mean, I was shattered for the characters in the piece, for everyone. I think there's such a degree of fairness in how Martin treats particularly the 4 main characters, Barry's fella Dominic and Siobhan, Kerry Condon, who's so extraordinary. For me, she's kind of the beating heart of the film, or she represents the glimmer of hope in the film. You know, somebody has to leave the island. Somebody has to say enough. Somebody has to go out and express themselves and find a life elsewhere, as hard as that is for her in the piece. But I love Martin. I love his work, and it hasn't been a case of gross misfortune for me working with him twice before this and now this. You know, it's been pretty good to me. And Martin's stuff is obviously it's quite violent and it's quite disturbing at times, and the themes are dark, and he pushes the envelope very much, and he's very critical of certain aspects of the human experience and of society. But I swear, knowing him as I do, and I've known him for 15 years now, like 5 or 10 years before Bruges even, and knowing him and collaborating with him as well, he's a big softie, and he's full of love. His heart really is, like if you met him, he's not dark and twisted. He's not. He's not though. He's not. He's got all his fingers intact. Yeah. But he's lovely. He's a really kind. He's a bit bold. He's a bit naughty, and he's got a bit of a kind of anarchist spirit to him creatively. But he's a sweetheart, and I find all his films are essentially at their core about love, about the potential for forgiveness, the potential for redemption, and they're just dressed up in these incredibly provocative packages, you know, that are extraordinarily challenging and fun to be a part of.
Absolutely. Barry, I know that Martin wrote this role and thought of you immediately.
God.
So tell me about that. What's that like?
You wrote it for him.
Yeah, I mean, which is incredible. What's that like to have a director like Martin say, I am creating this character for you? And did you ever ask him what it was about you that made him want to write this specifically for you?
No, I didn't. I don't actually want to know that because then I'll...
Are you sure? Because I have the text.
No.
I asked him, and he said...
I actually remember you saying it to me, Colin. Was it that Martin was writing something and he had me in mind?
Did I?
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if you were just saying that.
When we were working
Sacred
on
Deer.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Did I get the bag?
Yeah, I think so. And then I met Martin at the 3 billboard screening, and then I had a picture of Martin on my phone weirdly on my screensaver because, you know, I'm one of these try put it out there and, you know, look at the image and you'll attract it.
It's working horribly for you.
Who's on your
Chris
phone now?
Nolan, Lanthimos, fucking McDonagh.
But literally up until the point when I met Martin in New York, I literally had him on my phone, and I was like, I have to get rid of this because if I put my phone down, he might think I'm fucking weird or whatever. But yeah, anyways, going back to your question, him writing the role. I mean, I'm a massive fan of his work. So
Tell me
keep
that.
writing, Martin.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, the next one.
Keep
The
him
next
on
one.
your phone. Maybe he'll keep writing for you.
Yeah.
How did he explain to you the relationship that your 2 characters have? Because you know, I feel like the Colin with you and Brendan, it's like the saddest breakup of all time, and it's devastating to watch. And then there's a hopefulness, but also there's a hopefulness wrapped up with a rejection, wrapped up with a longing, wrapped up with so much stuff in the relationship between the 2 of your characters.
I mean, we gotta stop doing this.
I do. He didn't. Some of the some of the what I feel are the best filmmakers that I've had the chance to work with, they don't always articulate exactly what they're looking for, especially if they're writer directors. Their intent or their inquisition is in the writing. And yeah, you'll talk about character stuff. I mean, not with Yorgos, not
No.
Yorgos. I mean, you want to piss Yorgos off, you ask him what your character's intention in it. He's like, oh, he's just so over it already, you know what I mean? Which I love, is brilliant. But Martin, you do have the luxury that is very rare in film, and that is you do rehearse it like a play.
Yeah.
So you go into a space together, and you're awkward on day one, and nobody knows what they're doing, and you're wondering, can you keep the job? And you all have a chat, and you read through the script, and then you start breaking it down, and it takes 2 or 3 weeks. So in that time, I don't know, but you were late to the party. You weren't there for the rehearsal.
No.
Barry had stuff going on, so he wasn't there for the rehearsal process, and which is even more impressive that he came in and he did what he did during. Yeah, really. I mean, he really. There was a lot going on, and he came in and he just did such an extraordinary job. But so I can't remember anything Martin said about our characters. I think it was self-explanatory, you know, that I kind of. Yeah, well, from my fella anyway, I just kind of leaned on you when the other fella left me, you know what I mean? It was a little bit like a surrogate in a way, you know, or was I on the rebound perhaps? You know, there's a little bit of that genuinely, you know. I love this, Barry's Dominic, I love that he's got a lot going on, Dominic, a lot going on. And to call him the village anything is, I wouldn't be calling him the village anything, but I'd understand why people could call him the village, put in the, but he's, as many people who are judged easily because of certain physical or intellectual seeming attributes or lacks, he's a lot smarter than he seems perhaps. There's an intelligence there which is shown. There's just this one lovely moment in that scene that might be my favourite scene in the film, when you and Siobhan are having it out over the dinner table, and then she goes to bed and you're all faint of heart and that, and then you go, you two will be all right, and it's lovely. It's so, he allows the characters these moments of kind of sentience. I have a version of it when I say to her, you know, is Brendan depressed? When I say, Colin Doherty, he's depressed, and then he goes, well, why doesn't he shove it down like the rest of us? I don't think my character even knows what he just said. But there is a kind of a wisdom there that inevitably, if you're a human being and you're involved in the mess that it is to be a human being sharing space with other human beings on this planet, whether you're in a village or a city or a rural community, you will pick up things. You will have moments of clarity. It's just how many, how often, how aware you are or unaware you are of them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Dominic is described as the dimmest person on the island, I think, in the film, and yet there's a clarity that he has about the human experience that so many other characters don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember chatting to Martin, and we did go through a little, I mean, we went through a few different versions of Dominic, you know, and what way we wanted to play him and that. I mean, I guess my goal for any character is to kind of humanize them and you know, make them as believable as possible. So I did want to, you know, it is written in there, that innocence and that naivety and that. So I guess it was just kind of, I mean, it's quite easy when you read Martin McDonagh's kind of dialogue, you know, it does it for you. And then acting with you, Colin, I mean, it's just, you know, yeah.
Well, tell us about that, because it must be, there's something special to it, and you've acted with a lot of your scene partners here before. How is it when you return to act with someone who you've acted opposite before? Is there immediately a shorthand? Do you find, because you're playing entirely different characters, that it's like starting fresh all over again?
Both, genuinely both. You know, I've had it a couple of times. Barry I've worked with now 3 times, and I love him to bits, and I just think he's an extraordinary talent. And there's just, you know, for me, the best compliment you can give an actor is that they're honest. And he's an incredibly honest actor. He's an incredibly honest man. It usually one bleeds into the other. And Brendan, I would say the same about, you know, geez, Kerry as well. I mean, there's just these people, you know, they don't seem to have a lie in them. And you discern that when you're watching them on the screen, so that the drama is just imbued with this authenticity that you experience, or I've experienced of them in life also. Twice I worked with Nicole Kidman, once on the film we did, and then I gave her a hug and I said, right, I'll see you in fucking New Orleans in 3 weeks. And we went and we did The Beguiled, and she chopped my leg off. So that was that, and then there is definitely a shorthand, and there's a familiarity, because when you go to work doing what we do, if you're lucky enough to have a bit of gainful employment, you have to go there vulnerable, don't you? You have to. I mean, maybe you don't have to, but I feel I have to, or maybe I have no choice, and I believe you do as well. You go with an open mind, you go with an open heart. You're not really in the mode to protect yourself. You're hoping that you're working with people that will not take advantage of the fact that you're not in the mode to protect yourself. So, you know, you do form relationships that mean something, even if you never see them again. You do, because you go through an experience together that certainly every time I go to work, regardless of what the piece is, it means something to me, you know?
Yeah.
So when Bear, you arrived, when they had all been in rehearsal, was that jarring for you to?
I mean, I kind of had an idea of Dominic already, you know, and again, I went through a few talks with Martin on which way to play him, but I'm probably best going in there not fully over prepared as well, and kind of letting that instinct and, you know, kind of yeah, I mean,
Everything you're saying, just you went in your instinct, you looked at the material, didn't you?
Yeah.
You read it loads, you didn't have to be in a room with 20 of us to read
No.
it 10 times.
No, I mean, I think as well, rehearsal for me, I mean, preempting and stuff like that, kind of then, you know, it takes that spontaneity.
I was gonna ask you this. Since this is a room of actors, I'm curious what you prefer. If you could choose going into a project, would you prefer to have the 2-week kind of theater-like rehearsal that some directors like doing, or just going in and shooting, you know, with the spontaneity of a first performance?
Yeah, I think just going in and shooting, for me, anyways. I mean, and then if we like it, you want to kind of stick to that, and, you know, then, yeah, but I don't really like the rehearsal kind of.
I'm not a big fan of rehearsal, but that's more to do with my own fear, really. I feel if I go to the set and start shooting, that I've got the gig, and then the rehearsal period is a very,
it's like an audition
stress.
again.
It is, it's stressful. I find it stressful.
It's like, I can't do the accents.
Do you think you'll get fired during rehearsal?
I mean, a little bit.
They look at you, they walk away, and they're like, yeah, that was great, and then walk away
But it's
for
not even
about.
fired. It's just you're constantly reminded. You know, you're constant to be reminded through reading a script and ruminating in your own house or apartment or back garden or whatever the fuck that you don't know what you're approaching. To be ruminating on your own as you're preparing on your own for maybe a 2-day wardrobe fitting conversation with some actors for 2 hours on the first day of the 2 days. That's one thing, because you can deal with your discomfort on your own, or I can better. But to be in a room every day with 10 or 15 actors and feel discomfort and feel like you don't know what you're doing, you're a million miles away from it, everyone else seems like they're closer to where they need to be than you are.
Yeah, everyone knows their lines up by heart as well.
All that stuff. But again, as I say, I'm aware that that's my own discomfort, and that doesn't mean that the rehearsal thing is a bad thing. So my thing is, to be honest with you, if a director says to me, and a couple have, do you want to rehearse or do you want to not rehearse? I go, I want you to make the call. And whatever I want to fit into that. Because I don't want to start, like, genuinely, I'm not being avant-garde by saying this, but I don't want to start getting into what do I find comfortable? What's comfortable for me? Because then I know a bit of laziness will slip in.
Let's shoot the rehearsal.
No, but I mean, McDonagh, you know, I remember doing Bruges, and it was like we were rehearsing for 3 weeks in Belgium. I was like, fucking 3 weeks, what the hell? I mean, it's a good script, but is it that good? Like 3 weeks, do we need to, you know? And true as God, you know, of course, all the great writings, if it's really strong stuff, and if it is about something, and if the original intention was built around meaning, and again, inquisition and curiosity, and a need that the writer had, it'll just, me and Brendan in Belgium, I'll never forget it, we'd ask one question and then 10 questions would pop up, and then you'd ask another one. So by the end of the 2.5, I think it was, 2.5 weeks, we were chomping at the bit to get to the camera, and it wasn't jaded. And there was a couple of scenes in this that were, I found, very hard to get the rhythms of, and I'm glad that we didn't leave it till the day on set. I'm glad we figured out a certain amount of it, and you never go 100% in rehearsal. You know what I mean? You never, but you getting close enough that you go,
you never do rehearsal.
I can go 100%, or 100% is something more, you know?
What was the scene for each of you in this film that I don't know, that you felt really you could dig into as an actor?
I mean, the scene with Kerry for me at the end.
So heartbreaking, Jesus.
Oh my
that
God.
was.
It gutted me. That's
And when you have Kerry opposite as well, I mean, again, it makes it a lot easier. But I think that final chance kind of thing, and again, going back to that time period, you don't know how to ask like someone out. You're not referencing anything from the TV, or you kind of just, So I wanted to see what that felt like. Where does he drag it from? It's just pure innocent and pure, honesty as well. But that for me, yeah.
Which is maybe why it's so devastating to watch, because there is such an innocence to it, and there's such a to your performance, there's such a purity in your performance that I think it's just a knife in your heart when you're watching it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about for you, Colin?
I don't know. Maybe there's just the one scene on the back of the cart after getting punched by his dad, and then I get up in the cart and he puts his arm around me, and I think maybe we can be friends, but I know I can't talk to him, and that I fucking hated that day.
Why? Because it was so emotional?
It was just so upsetting, yeah. It was just like I knew it was coming up, and in the script it just said, do you remember the script?
Mm-hmm.
It just...
You did a lot.
And it went on, it went on and on for like 200. Yeah, it was a lot longer than in the film. I was kind of like, fuck you, McDonagh. I was crying for 10 minutes straight, and you couldn't admit that. I'm only joking. But you do get a bit of that, But no, just that morning was, anyway, I woke up and there was a cloud, but I knew it was coming, and I didn't, you stay with yourself. And I was watching a thing recently, a podcast, and somebody on it who's very bright was talking about actors being bananas. And he was saying, like, they all just cry on, people that can cry on cue are like...
That's hard to do.
Well, I can't cry on.
I'm like, let me go listen to a sad song.
No, you something. But you know what I was thinking? Because it made me question, like, what is it? Like, is it madness or what?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, for me, anyway, my experience, like, anytime you cry in film, they're just unshed tears. That's all they are. They're just unshed tears. They're not new. They're just unshed tears. They're just times in life which all of us, everyone in this room. Can I be gross and ask a question? Has anyone in this room felt that they ever had tears there that they didn't release? Put up your hands.
Yeah.
So the majority, and the rest of you are liars. And but that's all it is. So that's all you're going into. And that's what Martin pushes you. Like, he pushes you to go into painful places, and it's not all grim. We had a laugh doing this. I had such a great time.
I mean, we lived together.
Story. We did live together.
Yeah.
Fucking still owe me boxes of cereal. Anyway,
never
leave your crunchy nut cornflakes.
I see today when Colin Farrell was like, "Did you eat my crunchy nut?"
Don't ever leave your crunchy nut cornflakes anywhere near this.
Who's the cleaner roommate?
Would you stop? Are you really now? Is that a serious question?
Oh man.
Did either of you?
So weird. The weirdest kind of MTV Real World situation.
Did Brendan live with you too?
No. Brendan's wiser than that.
Yeah.
Do you, the two of you, when you start playing a character, how much do you fill in their history? I mean, there are things with both of these characters. You're seeing this snapshot of their lives, but with both of them, I was in my mind trying to piece together, like, what happened? What happened that they ended up in this place, feeling this thing, having the connections that they do, and not having the connections that they do?
I mean, that's kind of the exciting part, is filling all that in beforehand, isn't it? And you get to make all that up, and you bring it to Martin, you ask, do you think that? Do you think this? Do you think he's coming from this angle? And I mean, I get a moleskin book, and I kind of just, I used to get my nanny to write down random questions, and I go fill them, and that's how I find it then. But I guess, yeah, it's just kind of being creative and, being that kid, getting to make up a backstory, and then just throw it all out the window, man.
And does Martin, when you run it past him, is he someone who says, no, that's not what led Dominic here, or does he just say, he's your character now?
A lot of that's for yourself. You wouldn't be sharing.
No.
Sharing everything with him, even. Do you know what I mean? There's no need really. And a lot of that is just your own personal kind of reference points, and context that you give the character. Joel Schumacher was the first person to ever say to me, I did this thing with the first film I did, Tigerland, and Joel said to all the young actors that were on that, you know, I want you all to keep a diary for the we did 2 or 3 weeks of boot camp or something, and I want you all to start now keeping a diary, but keep it in character as much as you can. Think how your character would be experiencing the daily grind of doing this boot camp thing, and that was kind of really interesting. So I've always checked in that way since.
You do that with all your characters now?
Yeah, it's to a certain extent.
That's great.
To a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what it was like filming on this island during COVID.
Imagine.
What was it?
God.
Imagine.
I knew every name of every sheep in
Did you find a
Keoghan.
man? You didn't find a man. You didn't love it.
No, I did, yeah.
No,
It was
did you?
great. Nah, it was beautiful for a little while. And
For a little while.
for a day. Or,
Lunch on day one was beautiful for a little while.
I guess when you're told you can't leave the island, you want to leave the island. For me, anyways. So, but I mean, yeah. You're in a bubble. You
I
lived
was
there.
in heaven. It was just so, and I'm not saying that island life is simple or people's lives there are simple, but my existence there was one that was just felt incredibly simplified. You know, the work that we were getting a chance to do every day, I was loving the work. I was working with people that I love. Like, as I said, I love him, and I have true love for Brendan. Kerry I've known 20 years, Martin, you know, and a bunch of other people in the hair departments, makeup departments, wardrobe departments that I had worked with doing Ballycus Angel in 1998. Like, you know, it was amazing kind of homecoming, personal homecoming, but being on the island, it was just surrounded. You know, it felt, sometimes there are elements involved in the telling of a story, film or TV, or whatever it may be, that are outside of the immediate experience, outside of like getting picked up or dropped off or getting to work at a certain time or leaving. They're outside of that experience, but they are of the world you're trying to tell. And so I felt like I was in this world every day. Another part was I put on a lot of weight once to do a thing. I went way up and I couldn't take the costume off. It was amazing. Every night I had that body, and it was good, you know, 60 or 70 pounds heavier than I am today. And it was amazing because it meant it wasn't like I was choosing to be in character, but I was physically a different person for the 3 or 4 months. And this was emotionally and psychologically, my whole life, my rhythms were informed by, yes, every sheep, every donkey. I run, so I used to run the islands like
even
night
after every
night
night.
after work, I just put on my runners and I'd go and run the island, and it's only 6 or 7 miles long, 3 miles deep, you know, and it was just, there were these old little remnants of buildings that had been inhabited by families 100 years hence, and it was just really moving. There's only 750 people on the island of Inishmore where we shot some of it year round, and you kind of got to know quite a few of them, and they were very welcoming.
They were lovely.
And we just fit in, you know. It felt right, it felt harmonious, it was beautiful.
Well, the movie is just wonderful, and both of your performances. I wanted to thank Barry Keoghan and Colin Farrell so much for joining us, and thank you all so much for
Thank you.
coming.